Coping versus healing when it comes to the approach of dealing with childhood trauma. Why should you care, right? Well, you should care because this is a very important concept to understand, and that's what's going to actually get you the results that you're looking for. And that's what most therapies, unfortunately, are missing. Not just therapies, but YouTube videos, wherever you're going to get your information. That is usually the missing link. That's why I encourage you to stick around and understand what I'm talking about, because it literally is going to make a difference whether you're going to give up and say, hey, I'm screwed for life, or whether you're actually going to come out on top of things. So childhood trauma. If you've made it this far, if you're watching this video, then you know that childhood trauma is affecting your life one way or the other. Maybe you feel it in yourself that you're not able to do certain things, or you're feeling a certain way, or other people told you that you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself, whatever it is, right? You know it's affecting you. So what is trauma? Trauma is a form of damage, and trauma has pain associated with this. Somehow or other, when we talk about coping versus healing, everybody else tries to focus on how this pain that you're going through is affecting them. And very few focus on how you feel and where you're at. I'll expand on this in a minute. But wouldn't you agree with me that when we start talking about childhood trauma, it's either, if you have childhood trauma, then you feel, jumpy, you feel scared, you feel depressed. Sucks to be you, right? I mean, what's the solution that they have given you? I don't see very many very often. It's just, those are the symptoms. After you read all this, the only question that you come out with, or the only takeaway, I should say, you come out with is that, okay, I have trauma. Now what? Or you have trauma and therefore you get angry, you get jumpy. Well, you need anger management because we can't deal with you when you're so angry. So now you have to do X, Y, Z to control your anger because you have childhood trauma. What about how you feel? What about your pain? It doesn't seem like very many people talk about it. So let's talk about it right now. Trauma is a form of damage. So by definition, you're not being your true original self, right? Because your true original self has been damaged. You have trauma. And if you're not being the best version of yourself, how can you perform the best version of yourself? Let's say if you have a broken leg and people tell you about obligations of, well, gee, you need to take care of your family, you need to go to work, you need to A, B, C, D, and you know that. But can you even walk to your car to go to work as you're supposed to if your leg is broken? And the answer is no. Somehow this concept gets left out of the big picture of what you literally can or cannot do. So, coping versus healing. Healing is aimed at you healing your wound, healing that broken leg so that you can walk on it. Coping is what you do when your leg is broken. Well, you get crutches. But that only goes so far. So when you have trauma, you have certain issues associated with trauma. So coping involves issue management. So issues associated with trauma that a lot of people name is getting angry easily, is having social issues, not wanting to be around people, being suspicious of people, not being able to connect, and so on and so forth. So that will have two sides. I'm sure that none of us can say, hey, I enjoy being unsocial, or I enjoy being triggered and flying off the handle at the least provocation. I don't think anybody enjoys that. Most people don't. But then there is a flip side of that when you do get easily triggered, or when you do read danger where no danger exists, that does affect people around you. Because if I'm your partner and you have trauma and you get triggered by, the drop of a hat, let's use that expression, then that's going to affect me because I'm not doing anything wrong and I got anger coming in. Or if you have trust issues and you're seeing danger where danger does not exist, I'd be going like, why are you accusing me of whatever your perceived danger is? I'm not that kind of a person. That humiliates me that you would even think that I would do this. So as you can see, having trauma would affect you, and it would affect people on the receiving end. And this is why we have two sides of dealing with trauma. It's issue management to somehow contain how your trauma affects the people around you. And that's what I'm saying. That's what everybody is looking at. They are concerned about themselves, how that affects you, but that's coping. And then we have healing, to where you go back to the original version of who you were when you were 5, when you didn't have issues with not trusting people and with getting angry at the drop of a hat. Let's take as an example a very common case of trauma, which everybody terms a narcissist. Which, being a narcissist, I hate the term. That's the mainstream term. We use the term personality X because I think the term narcissist is very misleading. But as it is, as we have it today, mainstream calls a person with a certain type of trauma a narcissist. And so what is a narcissist? Well, it's a person who is very much into themselves, which, again, they just do not see below the surface. Let's say it's a person who comes across as a person who is into themselves. Because why? Because they want attention. Because they want people helping them. Because they want eyes on them. Because they want to be seen. So, well, that's a narcissist. You're into yourself. How about you are a child who never got love or attention when you were growing up? How about you never had love in your life? And so when you get a little bit, you can't get enough of it. It's like if you're suffocating and somebody cracks the window open, what are we going to do? That's where our attention is focused. So when somebody starts giving you a little bit of love, we just can't get enough of it. Give me this attention. I never had it. Give me this love. Notice me. Notice me, because I've been always told that I am a nobody. I don't have the right to live. Now you're telling me I do. Confirm this. Confirm this again, please. However, what people look at say, no, they don't see it as a cry for help and as a response to pain. They see it as a narcissist. All they see is that you want attention. Or another part of narcissist, right, is a person who does not know where boundaries lie. In my bioenergetic lectures, groups, workshops, whichever one you may experience, we go into a lot more depth about this. And on the technical side, excuse me, plugged up today a little bit. On the technical side, it's in our childhood development when a person does not get enough love in early childhood, enough attention, and enough parental involvement, let's put it this way. Our second energy center does not get developed, and we have a hard time with boundaries. Part of that is because our own boundaries have been violated a lot, and it's just physically difficult to draw that line. So a person who has narcissistic disorder, who is a personality X, will have a problem respecting boundaries, knowing where boundaries are, and just working with boundaries. Because number one, a person feels that as a form of slavery, because again, they have a problem with the concept. Number two, this type of person has a really hard time apologizing. For one, because they had enough shame in their life, and there's eventually comes a straw that makes that breaks the camel's back, and admitting, even if you are guilty, admitting that you're guilty again is just that one little drop of shame that is too much, because you've had so much shame through your life that you just physically can't take anymore. So apologizing and accepting that shame is very difficult. Another part of this is that when we don't see the boundary, the distinction between us and the world around us, is that we kind of subconsciously tend to see everybody as an extension of ourselves. That's what lack of development of that energy center means. So if let's say I'm a husband who has that particular problem, I would love my wife, but I would still see her as an extension of myself in that setting. And so let's say, scratch that, let's put this aside for a second. And so I hit my hand on something. Oh, it hurts. And oh, I am an idiot because why am I waving my hands? I just hit it on something. Ouch. I know I screwed up. I shouldn't be waving my hand in a closed space. I know it hurts. I have no doubt about this. But would I go and apologize to my hand? Absolutely not, because it's an extension of myself. So same way, a person with this narcissistic disorder, right? For that kind of person, it's very hard to apologize, because why would I apologize to you if you are an extension of myself? I feel sorry. I feel like an idiot, but where does the apology come in? So that's how a person with trauma feels. But what does everybody sees on the outside? Hey, you just hurt me emotionally, right? You said something, you did something. You know you're being an idiot. Why don't you apologize to me? Why are you constantly violating my boundaries? I can't live with you when you're so explosive, when every little thing I do triggers you, when you constantly step over the line. Why you cannot give me love and all you want to do is take the love from me. That drains me. I can't live with you. And so this creates a personality X situation to where on one hand, the person is not doing this maliciously. But on the other hand, that does make it extremely difficult to live with this kind of person. So two outcomes is, number one is coping and issue management. It does help if you do something about outbursts of anger, about knowing where the boundaries are and respecting them, about at least making a slight effort of whatever you can muster to show the other person love, even though you feel it, feels almost unnatural, it kind of, it goes against your pattern. Basically, it just feels odd. Still make the effort. Those are the coping/issue management techniques, tactics, and steps. And I don't know the statistics. I would say 90% is just the top of my head. The prevailing majority of methods that talk about trauma, that's what they focus on, is how do you manage those issues even though you still feel broken inside. You feel your pain, you feel all those conflicts, you feel whatever's going on in you, can you still function? So it's basically, how do you walk on that broken leg because you have to go. You take crutches, you just bite your tongue and you do it, That's them. They cover a lot of it. That's why I don't spend a lot of time on it in what I do, because that's already been discussed and dealt with ad nauseum, and there is a lot of very good advice out there. So what we focus on is, hey, let's heal you to where you don't feel the pain, to where you're not broken anymore, to where you don't get triggered, to where boundaries come natural to you. That's possible because that's how you were before it all started. I guarantee you, if you think back on your early childhood, you'll know what I'm talking about. So let's summarize. Coping versus healing. Issue management versus restoring you to your best original self. Those two approaches go hand in hand, and you need both. I'm not discrediting the issue management, because if you don't control your anger, it will get yourself in trouble, and it will affect your life to where nobody wants to be around you, which will deepen your trauma. So that is very important. But I'm not talking about it simply because everybody else does and they have very good advice. What I want to focus on is, how do you heal yourself? How do you get to the point where you are happy, you're together, and good things come naturally to you? That is healing. This is what we term core change. And that's the difference of the approach to trauma that we take. Thank you, guys.